We've reached a major milestone with this arrest and filing of the criminal complaint, but we're not here today, of course, to celebrate that. The killing of 18-year-old Tessa Majors was a heartbreaking tragedy that brought unimaginable loss to her family and friends.
Manhattan District Attorney there, Cy Vance, announcing the arrest of a 14-year-old boy for the murder of an 18-year-old Barnard student, Tessa Majors. He'll be charged as an adult, we are now learning, and arraigned on Wednesday. He's the second teenager charged in her stabbing death on December 11th inside Morningside Park in Manhattan. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney David Bruno. He joins us now. David, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We've followed this case together.
Sure.
Take us back to what happened and then to what we're learning now.
Yeah, well, Tessa Major was 18 and she was stabbed to death in a park in New York. And in December, they arrested a 13-year-old, and we reported on that, and I talked about that then, where the 13-year-old was detained. And we knew that there was a 14-year-old out there that was the possible stabber. So what police did, they did an excellent job really putting together this case with video evidence and DNA evidence, because the 14-year-old was just charged with murder and felony murder, and they're treating him as an adult. Why? Because he's the one responsible, they're alleging, at least. And the complaint shows that there's a witness in the park that heard her scream. They also heard one of the juveniles say, "Give me your phone," which is a theft, a robbery. There's DNA evidence of this 14-year-old under the fingernails of the victim. The 14-year-old gave a statement and said that she was hanging onto her phone and that he hit her with a knife. Okay, and also what we learned from this arrest is that these three individuals robbed somebody 4 days prior in the same place for the same phone, and they did it at knife point. And they know this because of the video evidence around the park.
On that, I will get to that in just a second, but 18 years old, she was cutting through that park. It was about 8 p.m. on December 11th. She was wrapping her first semester at college. It's an absolutely tragic story. Here is the DA on the large amounts of evidence that they now say that they have.
The complaint paints a picture of the video evidence, the blood evidence, the smartphone evidence, the iCloud evidence, the witness identification, and the defendant's own statements that were rigorously collected and examined prior to this arrest and indictment. And it paints a gruesome picture of what this young woman endured in her final moments.
Horrible for her family and what they must be going through.
Sure.
The defendant's 13 and 14 years old, teenagers.
Right.
How will this play in front of a jury?
Right, so I'm a former homicide prosecutor, and I waived a 15-year-old and I successfully convicted him of murder. What they have to do is they have to make it about the facts that we just heard and not the age, because these are individuals that are not acting as 13 and 14-year-olds. This is a horrible murder, and that's what the prosecutor should do, frame it as the facts of the case. The 14-year-old, because he's being charged as an adult, he will be exposed of possibly up to life in prison on this. So it's a gruesome case, and for prosecutors, make it about the facts of the case, the screams of the victim, the video evidence, and the eyewitness testimony that should be able to convict this 14-year-old.
DA Vance did note at the end of that news conference that the investigation into other suspects' involvement in this case is ongoing, so we could learn that there are more.
Sure. There's 3 juveniles on video. The 13-year-old has already been charged, and he's detained. He's in custody. The 14-year-old has been arrested, and he's being tried as an adult. There's another 14-year-old out there. So I would imagine that's probably the individual that the prosecutor is talking about. To what level does that... it doesn't make sense why that third person isn't charged right now, given what we know. If there was a conspiracy to commit robbery, that's it. That's all they're going to need for the top count, the felony murder. Because when you are robbing somebody, and if a death occurs during the course of the robbery, it goes from robbery up to felony murder. And it's a second degree in the state of New York. It's the same as an intentional murder.
Tragic case.
Agreed.
Thank you, David, for joining us.
Always a pleasure.